Welcome to episode 9 in the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Dota 2 series, and in this video I'll be talking all about status effects, what they are, and how they affect you and other heroes in the game. There are quite a lot of status effects in the game, but we will be going through each and every one of them as they are extremely important to know so that you can use them to your advantage or understand what is happening when you're affected by one. So sit back and relax, maybe grab a notepad and pen if you're a serious Dota nerd, then strap yourself in as I unleash my years of Dota 2 experience directly to your eyeballs and earballs. Now before we get to that though, if you find this video helpful or just want to support a fellow human worm baby, then please hit that subscribe button and the like button as this really helps me to grow the channel and create more and more videos to help the gaming community. Awesome guys, thanks for that, now let's get into it. Negative status effects are also commonly referred to as debuffs or crowd control abilities, and they all hinder your hero in one way or another. You could probably rank them as well, as some disables are more severe than others. There are currently about 20-ish different types here that we need to go through, and a lot of them are quite similar. Now the Dota 2 wiki over on Gamepedia actually lists these out, most of them anyway, and I've put together this handy table that displays the effect that each disable has on your hero. Feel free to pause the video here if you wish to get a better look. Also, it's worth mentioning that you can always see what is affecting your hero by looking down here just above your skills bar. This will show you each and every status affecting your hero. First of the disables are stuns. Stuns are one of the most common abilities among heroes and are also probably the most powerful, as they completely render the target useless for the duration. If you need to lock somebody down so that you can beat on them, this is what you want, as they will not be able to move, attack, cast abilities or use items while stunned. A stunned unit will have a whirling effect above their head and is also usually accompanied by a countdown timer showing how long the stun has left. If your team has multiple stuns, it is a good idea to try to chain them by waiting until the end of one stun before casting another stun. This will stun the unit for the longest duration possible. Similar to stuns are shackles. Shackles completely disable the target, exactly like a stun. However, the biggest difference here is that the caster must channel the spell, often rendering themselves vulnerable as they hold the target down. The shackle effect can be ended by silencing or stunning the caster, or waiting for the full duration to occur. Sleep is the next one, which is also similar to stuns and shackles, except that the effect typically ends if the unit takes damage. This depends on who is damaging the target however, as some spells, like Bane's Nightmare, allows only him to attack the target without waking them up. These are typically good spells to use to catch a target and set up a stun or other lockdown. Units that are slept will have sleep written over their heads. Cyclone, the next debuff on the list, throws the target up in the air for a certain amount of time before dropping them back to the ground. This one can be used defensively, to purge a silence or dodge a spell, or even offensively to catch an enemy and initiate a gank. While in the air, heroes and spells will pass underneath the lifted target, and the lifted hero will also not take any damage. Next up we have slows, and this can be split into two parts. First of all, and probably most obviously, are movement slows. These are the ones that reduce your movement speed and allow enemies to catch you more easily, and these are also very common and very effective in Dota. Slows aren't as effective as stuns however, as the enemies can still turn around and attack you, as well as cast their spells on you. The second part, or second type of slow, are attack speed slows. Attack speed slows reduce the attack speed of the target and is very useful to use on an enemy when they are trying to get last hits in the lane or when they are beating on you or your teammates. One of the most notorious attack speed slows in Dota is Enchantress's first skill, Untouchable, which, well, just watch for yourself. Next up we have silences, which are amazing spells that prevent your targets from casting any of their own spells. These are extremely useful to prevent fast moving targets from escaping before you have the chance to lock them down and kill them off. You probably already guessed, but silences are also very good against heavy spellcasters or support heroes who rely on using spells to dish out damage or protect their teammates. You can always tell when a hero is silenced, as above their head will be a white mask with a red cross over their mouth. Similar to silences, mutes prevent an enemy player from using their items, and is very effective against heroes before they can activate their spell immunity. Not many abilities contain mutes, but if you need a mute, you or one of your teammates can always purchase the item Nullifier. Next on the list are breaks. Breaks are very powerful debuffs that temporarily disable a target's passive abilities. Heroes that rely on passive abilities to be tanky, such as Bristleback or Tidehunter, can be brought down in seconds when broken. Breaks are rare however, and only a few heroes have abilities that can break a target. The item Silver Edge is a popular choice when you need a break on your team. Forced movements are interesting ones, and again not very common, but these ones move the target or heroes caught by the spell to another position without them walking there. Examples of this are Pudge's Hook and Force Staff. Similar to forced movements, Hypnosis abilities completely disable the player, except it forces them to also move towards the Hypnosis target. This is one of the newest effects in the game, and currently only 2 abilities have this effect. This is Lich's Sinister Gaze and Kotl's Will-O-Wisp. Roots, similar to stuns, lock the target in place and prevent mobility-based abilities such as blinks and teleports, but they don't prevent the unit from turning, casting spells or using most items. Some root abilities will also disarm the target. Now, disarms, which I mentioned before, are another negative debuff and is a very frustrating ability that prevents the target from attacking and usually causes them to just stupidly follow a target until the disarm wears off. Only a few abilities disarm targets, but the Heaven's Hellbird item contains an active which can disarm an attacker. A unit that's disarmed usually has disarmed written above their head and some sort of broken sword as well. Now, abilities that leash a target disables their movement in some way, while not totally preventing it. Slark's leash prevents the target from moving too far away from the leash location, while Puck's Dream Coil leashes targets to a certain location and deals damage and inflicts a stun if they move too far away. Another really powerful disable, Hexes heavily reduce movement speed and prevent the target from using spells, items, or attacking. One of the main benefits of Hexes over many spells is their instant cast time, which means that the target has no chance to dodge it once it's cast on them. Now, traps are not technically a status effect, but they do have a disabling nature that prevent the hero from moving through an object, similar to a cliff. One of the most common traps is Earthshaker's Fissure, which stuns, deals damage, and creates a cliff-like terrain in a straight line that units cannot cross. A taunted target is forced to attack another unit, and cannot stop until the taunt ends or they or the target becomes affected by another ability, such as a banishing spell. One of the scariest taunt abilities is Axe's Berserker's Call, which forces all nearby enemies to attack him, giving him a chance to whirl his mighty axe and deal significant damage. Abilities that induce fear into their opponents force them to run away from the cast point, typically towards their fountain. A feared unit cannot do anything until the effect wears off, and this could also be thought of as forced movement, as technically the unit is being forced to move somewhere else. Hidden or banished units are temporarily shifted to another dimension where they cannot move, cast spells, use items, attack, or even be attacked. These are powerful abilities which can be used to catch enemies or dodge spells from enemies. Ethereal units are in a state of physical immunity, however they take amplified damage from magic spells as they reduce the target's magic resistance. Ethereal abilities also typically reduce the movement speed when cast on enemies, and a unit that's affected by this sort of has like a yellowish greenish tinge to them. Damage over time, or DOTs, can also be a type of debuff, and there are actually quite a lot of these in the game. Essentially, they stick to you like a band-aid and usually slowly burn your life away, or deal damage in ticks or intervals over a short duration. Some abilities also apply a debuff which reduces your ability to heal, such as Ancient Apparition's ultimate or the item Spirit Vessel. These can be quite nasty, especially for tanky heroes or heavy healers, so make sure you look out for these ones before trying to heal up. And finally, an ability which blinds a unit causes that unit to have a chance, and usually a high chance, to miss attacks. Now, I know this is quite a lot to take in, but getting to know and understand what each of these effects are is very important, and it will actually help you to get a grip on every single ability by every single hero in the game. Many spells in the game are a combination or variation of what we just went through, so learning these will really help you to get a grip on what is happening around you. Now that we've been through negative status effects, there are also some positive status effects or buffs in the game as well. These obviously improve or power up your hero in one way or another, and are also very useful to know. To start with, we can go ahead and list out most of the runes, as these each provide a buff or positive status to your hero. We went through runes in episode 4 of this series, so I'm not going to explain them, but I'll quickly list them. So the runes and their effects are double damage, haste, regeneration, invisibility, and arcane, which reduces cooldowns and mana cost. The illusion rune doesn't really count here, as it doesn't create a status effect on your hero. Next up we have phased. Phased units aren't phased by FaZe Clan and their nonsense. Rather, they'll just keep moving on through like they aren't even there. Man, my dad jokes just get worse every day. But yeah, pretty much phase units just move through other units without colliding. Very useful when trying to escape. Invulnerability. Now this one is pretty interesting as it basically renders the target completely immune to all status effects and damage. However, spells don't typically grant this on purpose. Rather, it's usually a side effect of a spell and usually doesn't last for much more than a second. One of my favourites that has this effect is Bane's Nightmare, which when cast at the right time on an ally can help them avoid an otherwise fatal spell or attack. Spell immunity is a very popular positive status effect for many core heroes, as it can be purchased in the item Black King Var. This status effect stops most magical spells from being cast on you and locking you down, usually so that you can unleash hell on the enemy before they have a chance at disabling you and killing you off. Attack immunity is the other side of spell immunity, preventing physical attacks from damaging you for a short duration. This is actually very similar to ethereal units in many cases, as they cannot be attacked however, but can still be affected by magic spells with often increased severity. Now that we've gone through all of the different mechanics surrounding status effects, it's important to know about status resistance and dispels. Status resistance is a stat of a hero which reduces the duration of most status debuffs and the slow values of slows. There are not a whole lot of heroes with abilities that grant status resistance, but there are a few items which do, such as Sanga, I don't know, Heaven's Halberd and even Satanic. There is only one source as far as I am aware of negative status resistance, and that is Bane's Enfeeble ability. This is very strong when combined with a stun or slow from a teammate, as it will make the second ability much more powerful and last up to 60% longer than normal. For example, a 3-second stun would then become a 4.8 second stun. Finally, we have Dispels, and there are actually two types of Dispels. The first type of Dispel is called the Basic Dispel, and is able to remove most stat-altering effects like slows and silences. Yule's Scepter and Manta Style are two items commonly purchased to purge off silences and other basic negative status effects. Strong Dispels, on the other hand, are able to remove most status effects, including hard disables such as stuns. Some sources of strong Dispels are Abaddon's Aphoric Shield, Tidehunter's Kraken Shell, and Ursa's Enrage when combined with an Aghanim Scepter. Aeon Disc is the only item which you can purchase that also provides a strong Dispel, and as a bonus, 75% status resistance directly after for 2.5 seconds. Now I really hope this episode has helped you to get a grip with the effects that many abilities in Dota have, and if you extrapolate this out, you can pretty much work out all of the, well, maybe not all, but almost all of the abilities of every hero in the game, except for maybe some of the damage dealing abilities and other abilities that don't apply a status effect. Anyway, I'm sure you've learned something, so why don't you go ahead and hit the like button and also give me a sub if you haven't already. That would be super amazing and really go a long way towards making this channel something that I can comfortably sustain. Thanks guys, we're nearing the end of this series now with only 2 more episodes to come. The next one goes through the various game stages and what you need to be trying to do and how to play during each game stage. That one is sure to be good as most people get lost in the mid to late game, so make sure you come back for that. Thanks everyone and happy gaming.